Hey everybody, this is Talkative Carl back again for a new video, something I've been toying around with for at least a few months, but I finally settled on uh, how to hash it out. Since I completed the entire reviews of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters anime, all 5 of the seasons, which you can check out on my channel, follow me on the links in the description of my reviews from the seasons of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters, season 1 through 5, and my thoughts on those. Since that is now all completed, I thought about doing my top 11 best duels, at least my favorite duels in the entire Duel Monsters era. And once I complete with GX, I will do the same thing for that, and then 5Ds and so on. But yeah, we'll hop right into it. Let me check something here. Oh, there you go. Cool. Let's start from the bottom up. 11. Dungeon Dice Monsters. This is like a 4-parter, but I want to condense it into all in one. Yeah, this duel is magnificent. This, personally, I put it up there as far as it shows you what kind of you get the title King of Games, but this really hits home where Yugi going up against Duke Devlin for the first time, and he's being like a game creator himself, creating this game called Dungeon Dice Monsters, and like an offshoot of the Duel Monsters card game. And of course, Duke Devlin having a grudge against Yugi and his friends, who he thinks cheated at Pegasus because he doesn't believe that Pegasus was, an asshole, given the fact that he was supposed to be working with Pegasus in getting Dungeon Dice Monsters off the ground. And since Pegasus, after his loss against Yugi, is nowhere, not saying nowhere to be found, but you can't reach him, feeling like, he's dropped off the map and it's Yugi's fault. Kind of screwing Duke Devlin out of a big major deal. Despite Yugi and his friends trying to convince him, no, Pegasus is not who you thought he was. And but when Yugi is trying to beat Duke Devlin at his own game, he's struggling at first, but this is where it hits home for me. King of Games isn't just by the name or just by the title alone. He represents the ethos of King of Games. The fact that he picked up a brand new game that very few people has gotten to touch. He managed to not only master, but beat the creator at a game that he's probably besides him and Pegasus, the only ones managed to touch this game. And Pegasus beat him too because he had the Millennium Eye. Of course, he can be able to figure out how to master the game himself. But Yugi just straight up on willpower and just the skill alone. The whole entire event was so much fun to watch, and just Yugi just trying to pick up on this stuff. He's thrown for a loop with the rules that Duke Devlin's not going to tell him, but he had to figure it out on his own. The fact that he finally accessed the help screen and know what dice he needs to roll, and turning the warp dice was the warp dice, the wormhole dice, against Duke Devlin when he initially wanted to use it for his benefit. He got the black, Yugi got the second black die in order to utilize to get to past the long trek from the dungeon pathway all over to the side of Duke Devlin's space where it's open, so he can get his heart points. And it was crazy fun, and it's I get so much enjoyment out of watching this 4-parter. It's just so good. Next, the merger of the Big Five. I love this tag. Anytime Yugi and Joey tag team, it is just so much fun because they play off each other so well, and they going up against the Big Five members. And I think I like this better than their first encounter with the Big Five in the virtual world thing initially, because I thought that small sliver of an arc was boring to me. It's probably my least favorite part, out of the entire Duel Monsters, series. But this, you get a little more bang for your buck. You actually see a card game actually play, and then utilizing their deck masters and everything like that. And when one is losing momentum, you get to see the other partner picking up the slack, especially when Yugi's feeling like he's a couple of times feeling like he was on the ropes. Joey comes in from behind, backup win, and vice versa. It's just a phenomenal play by play from these guys. And just to try to get Tristan's body back from being taken over by the Big Five. And you get to see, because I needed to include one of the Big Five duels, and I think this is by far the better one. I mean, I love the others, but this is superior considering you get all 5 members together, and they're bickering while each one taking turns trying to finish off Yugi and Joey. It's fun to watch. Great to see these voices coming through the body, and just see all these different deck masters popping in and out. It's just all around fun, and the stakes is high, but not as high as it's going to be, which you will soon see in another episode on the list. This one is I'll be hard pressed not to include this episode on the list. Best of friends, best of duelists. In Duelist Kingdom, when we at the semifinals, and is Yugi versus Joey after Joey mopped the floor with Keith, and technically Mai just surrendered to Yugi, but you get these two going head to head with the stakes definitely high in this. Yugi trying to save his grandpa's soul, while Joey's trying to get the money for his sister operation. It's just they're doing the absolute best, and this is an important moment for Joey, because this is a crucial time where it's all he learned so far since getting taught by Yugi's grandfather up to this point. You get to see his progression so far. I mean, he gets even to better levels in later episodes, but this is a crucial moment where you see Joey as a possibility could have actually beaten Yugi at this game, utilizing what he learned so far. But there's been other moments, like I said, in further future episodes when these two duel, you get to see a good possibility of Joey beating him in a duel. And you get the awesome, song no matter what as it's playing. This is a great song. It was when it's playing, and these two, you get to see short flashbacks so far, their lives and what they're fighting for up to this point, and it's just and it just seems they're tit for tat. Joey utilizing Grave Robber to work in a strategy in order to fuse, using Monster Born to bring back Yugi's Summer Skull, so he can use Copycat to copy the abilities of polymerization, so he can fuse together Black Skull Dragon. And just that also move, and Yugi just quiet, and he just says Joey thinks he's got his game face on, but Yugi's no, I'm just letting you have your moment, because that was an awesome play. I just wanted to let you enjoy this moment. Now I'm going to show you a moment of mine. And it's this back and forth. It is just, this really cemented my love for this anime of all time. It's this and Pokemon has always have been my top two favorite animes that I've ever seen since my childhood of all time, and the primary two that I always go back to if I feel like I want to watch feel like watch Yu-Gi-Oh. I want to watch Yu-Gi-Oh. It's just like so much fun to return to. I mean, Naruto and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is like around that list, and Bleach as well. But Pokemon Yu-Gi-Oh will always have a place in my heart as far as like favorite. So entertaining, so well done. Next, you get the match between Yugi and Pegasus. And this one carried on for at least 4 or 5 episodes. And it started off pretty intense. I remember watching this as a kid and how, like, okay, how are we going to beat this guy who can read fucking minds? And it's like, and he's playing around with Yugi this whole time. Like, he sat down, face down defense, his Beaver Warrior, and face down his Horn on the Unicorn. And Pegasus is like, I'm going to guess that is Beaver Warrior and Horn on the Unicorn. And you plan on using that your next turn as a combination attack. And it's like, and this, the shock of Yugi on Yugi's face tells it all. Like, he's just flabbergasted right now. It's like, but then thanks to little Yugi, you see like a cool progression with little Yugi and with Atem, where Yugi comes up with a brilliant idea, which blew my mind and my cousins and my little brother who was watching this with me at the time when we was little kids. It was like, he has this million item he using his full effect, who says we can't use ours. And since they have the ability to just switch their minds back and forth, but they always still stay connected, he comes up with the idea, well, we'll do that, but without keeping our minds connected. So when you make a move, I'm receiving to the subconscious, and then once you're done with your play, swap me out, so that when I make a move, you're in the back of my mind, but you don't have no clue what I'm doing either. So every time Pegasus is trying to read one of our minds, he doesn't know which one we're doing. He won't know because we won't know. And that kind of throws him for a loop, and now they can actually play an honorable duel because Pegasus cannot cheat. That entire thing was so baller. I love that. That was like you outsmarting your villain. That is so great in a good writing element. It's the fact that you can just like with Doctor Strange and Dormammu in the Doctor Strange movie. The fact that he uses time loops to defeat the villain because he's stuck in there. He cannot enact his plan of taking over the Earth because he's stuck here, and he has to make the agreement. I won't release me. I won't bother your world. And it's like, Yugi pretty much did the same thing. He outsmarted Pegasus in order to avoid the cheating. I love this, and I love Pegasus is one of my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh villains, at least arguably one of my favorite anime villains, because the fact that he's the flamboyantness, the fun, the voice actor to this is so much fun to listen to. Like, Yugi boy, Kaiba boy. I was like, I love that voice actor. It's like, it makes that character just pop, And like, you get to learn about like his reasons behind collecting the, souls, and so he can bring back his dead wife Cecilia. And he's like, he has love behind his actions. It wasn't just evil for the sake of evil. And he kind of grow into like, not like a good guy, but he grew into like a unlikely ally. He kind of learned from the mistakes he made and his his interactions with Yugi, and it's like he made some a character arc himself where he's like he's kind of like a flamboyant dickhead, but he's not evil. It was not a dickhead, but it's kind of like cocky, flamboyant, person. Like he's always the shit kind of attitude. Next, oh my god, because since like we got like sorry, let's go back here. 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. We're on 7th one. Number 7. A mime control, I believe it's called mime control, when Yugi first goes up against Merrick's Egyptian god for the first time, Slifer the Sky Dragon. This one is cool because this is probably like the first you seen Yugi struggle, but not as intense as this. This is one really brought Yami Yugi to his knees because the way Merrick's strategy with his mind slave strings, the way he utilizes the strategy of constantly replenishing Slifer's attack points with like increasing the number of cards in his hand, it really put Yugi in a bind because like, no matter what play he does, Revival Gem intercepts any attack that he comes up with and revives and then replenishes the hand thanks to card of Safe Return, and then that in totals increases Slifer's attack points. But thanks to Kaiba, where he's like, kind of sort of giving Yugi some like a bit of advice, saying like, there is one way to beat Slifer. You just have to figure it out. If you're duelist enough, you will figure it out because there is a way. And then thanks to Kaiba, Yugi managed to figure out kind of like martial arts, using the opponent's power against them. So, thanks to like using brain control, or at least using Monster Reborn to bring back Buster Blader, in a combination with like brain control, he kills Revival Gem using brain control. Well, I forgot. I'm blanking on which way it went, but using brain control to have Revival Gem revive on his side of the field because brain control is still in effect. And then since Revival Gem is a monster revival on Yugi's side of the field, Slifer's secondary ability has to activate, which obliterates 2,000 points away from any attack or defense, and if it's greater than whatsoever defense or attack is automatically destroyed, and Revival Gem has to revive again, and he has to Merrick has to keep redrawing cards, and since the attack is unlimited, the life points is pretty much like untouchable. The only thing left in order to make the win is cause Merrick to deck out, which he does, because that's the only flaw in his loop plan. And this one is like Yugi was literally on his knees because he's in awe of this mighty beast that's power to keep growing, and he cannot overpower it. He has no cards that at this point can overpower it, but he beats him and wins Slifer the Sky Dragon. And this is like like aside from Dark Magician, it became like a headliner of Yugi's deck. He eventually gets all 3 Egyptian God cards. This is his, by and large, his Egyptian God card. All right, number 5. Oh no, it's not 5. It's like, that was a 6 or a 7. 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. Yeah, 6. This is 6. I'm losing count here. This is like a combination between like the duel between Noah and Kaiba, then later Noah, then Yugi. This one is like, there's certain moments in Yu-Gi-Oh where there are certain, like, if this was rated R, this can be like easily kind of graphic, because Noah, just out of the sheer spitefulness, turns Yugi's allies to stone almost every, few turns that Yugi doesn't beat him, and just to nullify the annoying fan club kind of situation. And it gets intense, but like you get to see like an awesome dueling for Kaiba, and like you can see like the strong bond between him and Mokuba. I only wish that this is a Kaiba centered kind of filler arc, and I kind of wanted Kaiba. I mean, Kaiba got the win off Gozaburo, the duel against Gozaburo, and that's fine and dandy. But I was almost considering putting it on the list, but I think this duel was a whole lot better because like I just kind of wish like since it's a Kaiba thing, Kaiba should be beating these two, and Yugi has to take a back seat to this because this is kind of one of those kind of stories that isn't about him. But he's kind of him and his friends kind of dragged into it, and they should just fill the support role for Kaiba and have Kaiba take down Noah and goes abroad. This is his like family, and his, like he said, it's his family, it's his responsibility, and allow Kaiba to handle it. But Yugi and his friends should support him still and fight the other big five members to get them out of the way. But Kaiba should be dealing with Noah on his own and take the win, and deal with Gozabora and take the win. But unfortunately, that isn't happening. But it doesn't take away how pivotal this duel is, and the way that Yugi stepped up to have Kaiba's back and get them all released and out of the virtual world for good. Like he combined some of Kaiba's deck into his deck, and then just with the combined decks of both of these awesome duelists of the world, mop the floor with Noah. And I love this. And it's like you see the strong bond between Mokuba and Kaiba really hits home. The fact that what they went through, and how far they came up to this point. They been through thick and thin with each other. They only had each other, and it's like the fact that Noah tried to use Mokuba and then turn him against Kaiba, and how it did not work because that bond is too damn strong. So yeah, I love this. This 3-4 parter episode. Okay, next I think this is number 5 now. The fight between Yugi and Raphael. Man, this one really hit home for a lot of people. This is the first time where it's like a legit loss against Yugi. When you see, because you see a snippet of Yugi, Yami Yugi or Atem, who is kind of like little elements of Yu-Gi-Oh! Season 0, where he's kind of like, he is like the master of games and he does not like to lose. And especially when the stakes, when he's, dueling for friends and family, he goes all out. And it's little Yugi who he counts on to hold him back, as you saw when he dueled against Kaiba at the Duelist Kingdom, which I kind of almost put on the list. I just mentioned it as an honorable mention, but that is like the moment where you see Yugi's willing to sacrifice Kaiba's life just to get the win so he can go save Yugi's grandpa. Kaiba's kind of insignificant at this point in time between their relationships, at least for Yami Yugi's mindset. But that that mindset changed after Yami Yugi learned that lesson to like, I will not cross that line again. But he broken that promise in this moment where, with Raphael's kind of prodding and like constant like manipulation, but like just getting inside Yami Yugi's head, because Raphael's head was filled with a bunch of nonsense by darts, and his manipulation saying like the Pharaoh's evil is no good in him, and it was him to cause like the destruction of ancient Egypt. Of course, nobody knows the real truth at that time about what happened in Egypt, but he used exchange to give Yugi the Seal of Orichalcos card, and use it to tempt Yami Yugi to actually play that card. What Yugi should have done is rip that sucker up and toss it, so there's no way for him to be tempted by it, and so we can play an honorable duel. As I watched TGS anime who went over like, if it was played legitimately in like real world scenarios, played legitimately, Yugi would have still lost, but he would not have lost his soul, and he would have lost with dignity and proved to Raphael he's not evil. But that didn't play out that way. And check out that video, by the way. TGS Anime is awesome when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh lore and information and stuff like that. It's, very incredible. I really like his videos. But this was intense. This was the first time you actually see, like, because I didn't know about, when I first saw this episode, I didn't know about season 0 at the time and how hardcore Dark Yugi was. But this was the first time that it really like shocked me, because like he like rebuffed little Yugi's pleas for him to like not play that card, or at least stop the duel, or like at least just try to like calm down or whatever like that. He just rebuffs him, and he's mistreating his own monsters, his Dark Magician and Dark Magician girl, and then Ayatamias rejects him and withdraw his power from Atem, and because of his the arrogance and his like drive to just win at all costs, cost him little Yugi's soul, because instead of taking the Pharaoh's soul, little Yugi stepped in to replace the soul taking part, so Yama Yugi can be the one to end this, because little Yugi trust that Atem can atone for this mistake and overall stop Darts and his influence and get everybody's souls back. And he can't do that, and of course they need the Pharaoh's soul in order to give major power to the Leviathan, but they don't need little Yugi. So, and at least it will buy them time while he might be still as open souls. They don't have the soul that they need, so that means that they'll still buy them some time in order to deal with Darts, which they eventually do. But yeah, this one was intense. It's kind of got me in the gut, whereas as far as like what Yama Yugi let his pride get in his way, which is very I won't say out of character, but usually that is tempered by little Yugi's influence. But with that Zero Orichalco, it's kind of like putting like a fissure between these two. Now it's like that influence is just like overwhelming him, and it was a sad moment, but awesome duel, and too important not to put on this list. When I see this, it's still like one of the best duels I've seen. Next, now there's a few episodes from the Seal Orichalcos that I wanted to put on this list, but I had to like at least try to narrow down to at least 11. But you can definitely check out my review of the Seal of Orichalcos arc, the Waking of the Dragons arc, on my YouTube channel, which got way more views than I didn't even realize or expect. You guys love my review of those, so check that out, because like I had a lot to say about that arc, and it's easily one of the best arcs out of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters franchise. And check out my other reviews of other seasons of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters, but that one got like a whole lot of views. You guys, definitely had a lot to say, and definitely shows your support right there. So kudos to all you guys. Thank you. But yeah, I had to do like at least a Kaiba and Yugi double duel. I want to make an honorable mention. This is number 4, but I want to make an honorable mention about the Lumis and Umbra Battle City double duel with Yugi and Kaiba, because that one's pretty awesome as well. It was the first time they actually had to work side by side between these two rivals, and of course, it started off very rocky, because Kaiba gotta be like an asshole at every step of the way, but they managed to pull off the win by eventually working together side by side, and then thanks to Kaiba's prodding, getting inside Lumis and Umbra's head, breaking their teamwork, it kind of turned the duel around for them. But this one, they worked together in order to stop Darts. Halfway through, Kaiba ended up losing his soul, but he still like gave Yugi like a face down card to, or at least not face down. He flipped the face down card up to pass off the abilities from that trap card to Yugi to utilize to keep on moving forward. I can't remember if it's increasing his life points, so he can still stay in the game. I'm pretty sure that was the case. It's been a minute since I've seen the episode, but you know, this duel against which is kind of like crazy because like he has Darts utilizing these mirror monsters that has the face of little Yugi, Pegasus, Mai, and Joey, and pretty much using as shields to protect his life points, which Kaiba has no qualms of attacking them, which I kind of side with Kaiba on this because you eventually will get these souls back. But Darts is kind of like using them as human shields. It's probably not actually them, but even if I think no, it actually was them because they little you kind of speak with through their, still managed to eke out a connection between him and Yami, telling him that no, attack, go ahead and attack us, we'll be fine, just do it. So it's like you got it behind that shield wall so they can finally take on Darts, and they ultimately win. But this I had to put on the list because this is the big battle between the King of Atlantis and the King of Egypt, and I wish there was more with because most of Darts' cards are not real cards, aside from maybe like a handful. There's only like a few that just came into circulation a couple of years ago, but I wish there was a lot more with the Seal of Orichalco support cards to make a decent deck, at least for a deck for a Darts deck. But yeah, it's pretty good. I love this. A nice little bow tie to the events of the Awakening of the Dragons arc. Number 3, Clash of the Colosseum. I rewatched this duel against Yugi and Kaiba like over a dozen times. It doesn't get old for me. This is like they're almost at their peak dueling decks, and with their ace Egyptian god monsters, Cypher and Obelisk, and then the Blue Eyes and Dark Magician, and they're tit for tat trying to outsmart one another, keep each other from summoning their Egyptian god cards and stuff like that. And it's just like, and this like, these two ultimate rematch, something that Kaiba always wanted, like an ultimate rematch between him to get to reclaim the title of King of Games that Yugi stole from him from their first match from the series, beginning. And it does not disappoint. Just the skill level of these two is just, I'm in awe. And I mean, I loved it. It's like a 3-4-parter again. I think 4-parter. And of course it had to be a 4-parter. You cannot make a single episode from these two, or even a 2 episode for these kind of this duel between these two, because it's too big, and you gotta see their decks in like at least a significant amount of their cards being put in play so far as what they have been using since the Battle City tournament started, and their culmination of what they acquired and the skills and experience from like the beginning of the Battle City, from like what happened in Duel's Kingdom, from what happened in the virtual world up to this point. They're going head to head, and it's like Holyfield and Tyson kind of situation, man. It's just so good. I love this episode to death. That's why I had to put at least number 3 as rankings my favorite Duel Monsters episode. Then you got number 2, Yugi versus Yami Merrick, the final match of the Battle City. And this one is intense because Yami Merrick was on a tear. He was like a complete psycho, very intense. He's like gets off on just torturing people in his duels. I mean, he could have easily lost against Joey if Joey didn't pass out, which is rare in like a situation in an anime where the best friend character can possibly beat like a main villain of the story. But could have been like a easily a what if kind of scenario in this. But yeah, but this one's intense, and like just trying to, thanks to Odeon helping get Merrick's good side out to overpower the dark half, and then Yugi utilizing all of his monsters and all of his Egyptian god cards to take down. This is the first time you get to see all 3 Egyptian god cards playing on the same field to take down, or at least no, well, you see all 3 Egyptian god cards on the field, but 2 belong to Yugi, taking down Winged Dragon of Ra, and all the other Yugi's monsters, utilizing the magic card Ragnarok to circle and obliterate the Winged Dragon of Ra, leaving only the 1 life point Mary has to fight with, but he's pretty much like, dead in the water. But then, good Mary comes out and surrenders in order to finally obliterate what's left of his dark half. And this is like an intense duel, the duel that we've all been waiting for to see, and it all came to this, and it lived up to expectations. Finally, my number 1 favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters duel, the final duel, the end all duels between Yugi and Atem. They finally figured out Yami Yugi's real name, and now it comes to this where, like, from the moment that he, little Yugi assembled the Millennium Puzzle and gained his wish to gain friends, which the power of the puzzle and Atem honored. Now the pact has been made. Now it's time for Atem to move on to the afterlife with all his people that he was close to in his life. And it was like very powerful few episodes where people are sad. It's like, you don't want him to go, but you understand he has to go. He has to move on. He's technically a ghost and he has to move on. And it's like, this is not only a test for Atem, but it's a test for little Yugi. Has little Yugi learned from all his experience with Atem to be able to go on his own, to stand on his own 2 feet? Because with little Yugi's deck, from what his cards is pretty much level cards, is a proper representation of little Yugi, where he started off as like a little meek character, now grown up to be essentially his own person now. And now it's like, with a heartfelt sorrow, he managed to pull off a win, not only beating all 3 Egyptian god cards that Atem managed to summon onto the field, but he anticipated Atem's moves and he acted accordingly and beat him, which is like another second legitimate loss against Atem. And it kind of reminds me of Black Panther, but it did it before Black Panther, where little Yugi falls to his knees crying, even though he was victorious. And Atem walks over and says, "A champion doesn't belong on his knees." And it reminds me of Black Panther, where former King T'Chaka tells T'Challa, "Get up. A king doesn't belong on his knees." And it's just like, I love that line. A champion does not belong on his knees. A king does not belong on his knees. And it's like, it's just resonated, because like there's just like the amount of respect the Pharaoh's given to this kid. It just, because you've been with these people for so long, and it's almost sad to see them go. And it's just like, and it's just the final ending, because I love that move that Atem does as he's walking towards the afterlife. He puts that thumb up in the air, and it's just like a final goodbye and just like a final thank you for all that they done for him. And like, it's just like, it brought me to tears as a kid. It's like, I do not want this guy to go. I love this character so much, but I know he has to go. But this is like an amazing duel. Nice little button wrap up to it. An awesome series before it goes to the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX series. And man, it was just like, I was like, thank you for like just an amazing ride, Atem. and all his friends involved. Like, thank you for the amazing ride for 5 years since like the early 2000s. It's been like, like a break, like, every once in a while, but like all in all 5 years. And it's like an awesome ride. So like, it's just amazing. And that's pretty much my top 11 favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters episodes. And pretty soon, like, I will eventually get around to name my top 11 Yu-Gi-Oh! GX episode duels. Once I wrap up each season review of that. And so, yeah, let me know in the comments below, what was your favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters centered duels through the entire series. And like I said, there's a few honorable mentions, like I've mentioned before, but I also want to bring up the duel between Valen and Joey. That was pretty damn cool with the armors, up against Joey's cards, and Joey's little it's like his evolution of his deck has gone up exponentially, being able to utilize red eye supporting cards and the luck based cards to its fullest. Then the Siegfried versus Kaiba in the World Championship episode, that was pretty dope. And then of course I know like I was struggling, but it's just these other duels was a little bit better. I mean, I could have replaced Dungeon Dice Monsters with any one of Yami Bakura's duels, but I will leave like the honorable mention on Battle City Blimp between Yugi and Yami Bakura as an honorable mention. I love that one too. I was contemplating on adding it to the list, but it's like it was hard pressed. Like, if I had a number 12, that would have been number 12, because like I love that duel. That was probably like the best Yugi and Bakura versus duel that I still like better than the others that I've seen, because there's only been 3 in total between these 2 dueling. One in the Duelist Kingdom, which is kind of low tier for me, and like second tier was the one with little Yugi dueling against Bakura in like the cavern, and then but this Yugi versus Bakura on top of the blimp is my number 1 favorite duel between him and Bakura. And it just like and like just the voice actor and the character alone, I love Bakura, my favorite anime villain of all time. I love that character to death. He's just awesome presence. But yeah, that is my honorable mentions. But yeah, please leave a comment below. There's so much more. There's so much more duels. There's so much good, like the rematch duel between Joey and Rex and Yugi and Weevil. But then the Joey's duel against Weevil in Battle City, and his duel against Esperoba, and his duel against Mega Tsunami in Battle City. Joey gets amazing duels. And his duel against Johnson in the virtual world in that courtroom, that was pretty dope. So yeah, so I gotta end the video before I just go rambling on, because there's so many good duels this entire series. But leave a comment below. Let me know what's your favorite, and I will see you guys later on. So take care. Be safe. Have a happy new year, and stay tuned, because if I'm pretty sure at some point next weekend, possibly I will be, if depending on how soon I get into Yu-Gi-Oh! GX Season 2, I will start getting that review out in at least a couple of weeks at most. So stay tuned for that. So have a good night. I'll see you guys soon.